I wanted to give you an afternoon update. I'm going to give you a moment real quickly for everyone to come on and join in. But this is an update on Jane Doe's testimony. Okay. Jane Doe, she is on the stand now. This is an update on her testimony. And y'all, it's not looking good for the prosecution on this one. Mm-mm. It's not looking good. Listen, I told you guys yesterday, I had some serious concerns about where the prosecution was going with this, and they haven't gotten there. We got major issues. Now, number one of the first issues is where is KK? Where are D Rock? The prosecution is going to really need to call someone like KK, the chief of staff, to bring this RICO organization together. Now, I had testified previously, and I had said, let us know where you're joining from as you're watching. I testified, I stated previously, I was like, KK is expected to be on the stand next week. She is expected to be one of the last witnesses. But here's the thing, guys. They currently said Jane, who's on the stand now, that Jane is supposed to be there until up to like next Thursday, which doesn't leave room if they're actually still planning to call KK. And then as far as D-Rock, same thing. I said I wasn't too sure about D-Rock, but I did feel that they needed to have some form of security. It says so far, yeah, I think it froze for a second for me. But here's the other thing. Remember, I said they really need to have KK on that stand next week to really bring together the RICO enterprises. It looks like KK may not be coming. Here's why I say that. The other day, there was this huge debate over an exhibit. The judge has not yet made a formal ruling, but it's a text message stream that's got Diddy on it, it's got D-Rock, and it's got KK. And it's where Diddy is, they're organizing to basically like fly in some S workers or something along those lines. But it's basically talking about helping to prove up the RICO enterprise. The problem is there's a dispute on whether it can come in as evidence. Now, the prosecution is saying it should be allowed in as these people are co-conspirators. Here's the problem, Your Honor. I mean, here's the problem, audience. You guys are the jury. I'm used to being on it. The problem is that generally, if you're going to have the witness take the stand, the witness who's in that email string, in that text message string, can take the stand and authenticate it. But by the sounds of the argument for that motion, D Rock ain't taking the stand, and neither is KK, which is why they're having trouble getting that text message string admitted into evidence. Hey guys, hit that subscribe as you come on in. Hit that subscribe. Also, let me know your questions in the chat, and I'm going to get to the summary of Jane Doe's morning testimony. If you're new here, I'm your legal bestie, Attorney Simone. I'm an attorney, and I break down celebrity cases on YouTube here at my channel, Girl Is That Legal. Now, remember, as you're listening to me, I have not, quote, picked a side. People are like, oh, you need to pick your side. No, you hit the wrong place, baby. That's not what I'm here for. I am telling you from a legal perspective, as an attorney who has done this type of work, right? Hey, Dennis, how are you doing? As an attorney, I'm telling you the holes, the strengths, the weaknesses, so that you guys can be the jury and you guys can make a determination on how. Hit that like button as you come in on how this testimony is going. So, with that understanding, let's go back to Jane Doe's testimony. So, what I just wrapped up, if you're joining us now, is that it looks like KK may not actually be taking the stand because they were trying to get in evidence of her text message string. And it's been a knockdown, drag on fight between the government and the defense. And the only reason it would be that difficult to get in a text string is if the person is if none of the people on that string are coming to testify. So if KK ain't coming to testify, that would be why they'd have trouble getting in. If she is coming to testify, they could simply wait till she's on the stand, show her the text message string. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if that makes sense in the chat. Hit that like button. All right, now going back to Miss Jane Doe. Y'all, let me just get to it. In the end, the challenge the prosecution is having is we've now had about an hour and a half to 2 hours of testimony yesterday. And this morning we had, it was solely Jane Doe this morning. And the evidence of what they're calling coercion is extremely weak. So weak that my concern is that it's going to water down even the stronger evidence that's there for Cassie. Now, here's why. One of the strongest pieces was this morning. There was audio that was played in the court, audio from one of their hotel nights. She called them hotel nights. In Cassie's instance, they called it the free calls. And in the audio, you hear Jane basically saying that she wanted to use a condom. And Diddy is saying, "Oh, girl, you know you need to take that D. What you worried about a condom now?" was the gist. So, in other words, he's coercing her to be intimate with this male hooker without a condom. Yeah, okay. That doesn't mean S trafficking though. It says that doesn't mean, yeah, that doesn't mean S trafficking. S trafficking has to be using coercion or threats to force someone or to get someone to do something against their will. Here, honestly, what we've heard is that she really, really loves Diddy. I mean, this woman loves Diddy down. Do y'all know they were together up until the day of his arrest? She was not leaving this man. And what it really sounds like, y'all, is that she knew he had other girlfriends. She wanted to be the last woman standing. She continues to refer to him as my partner, my lover. She loved this man, and that her strategy was to be the last woman standing and that he would then settle down with her perhaps one day. Now, how do you get there? You got to make all of his nasty little fantasies come true. And that's what she was focused on doing. I'm not seeing a level of coercion that in any way would bring this over to the S trafficking. Now, there's more days of testimony. We are just on the morning. So I'm just talking about what happened this morning. Hold on, let me read this. It says, "Hey, everyone." Yeah. And here's the other thing, y'all. Now, y'all were mad at me. I was live. I was really frustrated yesterday because number one, I felt like the prosecution ended at a poor point. That you need to end on a strong point so that when the jury goes home and thinks about what they heard that day, they're like, "Oh yeah, maybe we see something here." And instead, I felt like it was almost an insult to the jury to have this woman take the stand and say that basically she didn't want to work and that her sole sources of income were child support and an allowance of $10,000 a month from Diddy, and that made her feel coerced into doing what Diddy wanted. When you've got these hardworking people on the jury, we got a masseuse, we've got a deli worker, we've got a warehouse worker on the jury who don't make that in a whole month. And she's complaining about that. Now, there was also strong evidence that was supported. She reinforced the evidence of transportation for prostitution. They had her run down a list of the male hookers that she was intimate with, and she established that they lived in one city or would come to another. Basically, all they had to show is that transportation occurred, dealing with, hey, two different states. But at this point, it's like, girl, get a job. Why won't you just get a job if this is such a big deal? Specifically, y'all. So on cross, the defense is going to be able to get in and ask her, well, how much are you getting for child support? Like I said, I told y'all last night, I think she was getting between 7 and 12,000 a month for child support. She sure is. She is getting something around that $7,000 mark for child support. There's so many people on this jury who don't get anything near that and may not even make that per month. So, in other words, she could have lived just fine on that child support, but didn't want to work. That doesn't bring it to coercion. It says, somebody said McDonald's can't pay for her lifestyle. That's true. But here's the thing. Here's some facts. Okay. I'm going to give you facts to bite on. I'm not going to call anybody no names today. We're going to deal with facts. And I want to hear in the chat below your thoughts of these facts. And here they are. I need you to know this timeline. She starts dating Diddy basically January of 21. They have a normal relationship, like February. She first meets him. Her birthday's in February. February, they have like the time of their lives. January, February, something around that time. And it wasn't until May of 21 that she has her first freak off hotel night. After that, the rest of the time, every other time with Diddy, she has a freak off. Now it's clear Diddy apparently can't seem to calm. He can't seem to, calm without this freak off experience, which is its own level of weird. But factually, you got to know this timeline for the coercion. So, in effect, she begins in May of 21 doing these freak offs. Diddy doesn't even give her a consistent allowance until uh, until 23. It was in 23 that he agreed to sign her lease, pay her lease of the 10K a month. So for 2 years, you were doing these freak offs without any allowance. Yes, he was throwing her money here and there. But what she said on the stand which I said, okay, I got to tell the jury. You guys are the jury. I got to tell that. Was this is what she said that I said, oh, I don't think this is going to go over well with the jury. Hold on. She said the reason she continued to do the free cost was, quote, I can run it. The reason she decided to continue, y'all hear this. She said, she writes to him telling him, I don't want to do these anymore. She says, I don't want to feel obligated to have these nights out of fear of losing the roof over my head. You guys, somebody say, you sound crazy. Who sounds crazy? Me? She says, quote, I don't want to feel obligated to have these nights out of the fear of losing the roof over my head. Well, ma'am, there's a solution to this, honey. You got to get a job. You got to get a job. Somebody said, girl, stop. Yes. What about the trafficking? That was proven in testimony. We're going to talk about that trafficking too. I'm going to get to that too. But right now, tell me if this is the theory, she continued to say she felt like the only reason did he had her around and paid for her house was because he wanted her to participate in those free costs. Here's the thing, that's not a crime. That very likely might be, sweetie pie, that might be why he had you around, but that's not a crime. And it doesn't go to coercion. And I think what it does is it creates more problems than good, in that now you're creating gray area because you probably already have a person or two or so forth on the jury who wasn't sure that they felt that Cassie fit the definition of as trafficking. And then now you got this person who's going to be comparing what Cassie went through with what this girl is talking about. Right now, he's not put his hands on her. He's not done anything other than encourage her. There were even one night on her birthday where he had her be with three separate men. And I don't want to say had because he did not force her. She said she did these things to please her partner. I don't understand why she hold on, goes back if she hated it. After they broke up, she saw the Cassie video and stayed. Make it make sense. She did. Now, mind you, the Cassie video, though, did not come out until it was like April or May. I think it was May of 24. She had been with this guy since 21 and was with him until the day he was arrested in September of 14. I just don't think, I don't want to feel obligated to have these nights out of fear of losing the roof over my head. Ma'am, there's a solution for that. It's called a job. Yes, she was in love. Absolutely. Now, even if the fear, and I do believe she had a legitimate fear of losing her rent if she was not doing it, but it was because that was her boyfriend. That doesn't give rise, and it certainly doesn't give rise to a RICO related event with the facts that we're seeing right now. It says, but the S trafficking aside, the testimony about the drugs, KK and the prostitution. Yes, that's true. So let's talk about the drug testimony. Because I thought, okay, they're probably putting her on the stand. We already know she was very helpful in laying out evidence to confirm the prostitution. Here's the challenge with her drug distribution evidence. And, I've said from the beginning, I felt like drug distribution was one of the things that they had good evidence of already, just by Cassie's testimony, the prior staff's testimony. The problem here is she said a key word that is problematic to the drug distribution with respect to a RICO. She said she had a rule, no drugs. In other words, hold on. It's New York City. We got noise, y'all. We got noise. Hold on. Sorry about that. So here's the problem. She said regarding the drug distribution, she had a rule that was no drugs, meaning the S workers that were there to service her and participate with her could not take drugs. You guys, this creates a strong counter argument for the defense that says, well, then these drugs were for personal use because that meant the only people using them were you and Diddy, not the S workers. Do you follow me? You follow where that creates a hole? Yes, the prosecution can still say, yep, we have her testifying to the various drugs. She even testified to picking up a package for Diddy and bringing it to him in Miami that had a bunch of substances in it. So there's no doubt that she absolutely has provided additional drug distribution evidence. But the challenge is going to be, yeah, there you go. But the challenge is going to be when the defense is then saying, well, hold on, but that was just for you and Diddy. And wasn't it just the two of you that would use those at your hotel nights? He wasn't distributing them to the to the prostitutes and things like that. So there's counter arguments on both sides. But I think overall, the challenge is going to be the coercion. We're going to need to see more evidence. Now, there's more time. She's supposed to be on the stand for all of today, all the way till 5 o'clock. We're going late today, and she's going to be on the stand on Monday. But for right now, the with what they have right now, they're kind of losing the jury because it's almost like we'll get to the part where it's gotten physical and things like that. Also, a lot of the physical, some people are saying, well, in opening, they talked about physical things. That's true. But from what I've reread, a lot of that physical stuff was actually going to be with respect to Gina, which respect to victim three. So there may be physical stuff with her too. All I'm saying is that they haven't gotten to it yet. Um, she is not the last witness for the prosecution. No, 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 no. That's an excellent question. It's not, people don't understand that's how attorneys provide legal analysis, literally. I don't see coercion from her. She's a 30 something woman with a bright eyed, bushy tailed, wait, 19-year-old. I don't know what you're talking about there. Imagine that the government wanted Cassie to testify after Jane. Oh, that actually might have been stronger, honestly, if Cassie could come after Jane. But I see why they led with Cassie because Cassie's videotape really set the scene for the other things. And something else that came to my mind as I was looking at the prosecution and how it's all those ladies. I've talked with some friends that I have that are U.S. attorneys, um, across the nation. And here's the thing. I think I know now why there's not a man on that legal team. Because if this is kind of the height of the evidence that they got for the S trafficking with respect to Jane, it's not going to fly. It is very unusual to have an entire legal team of six people in federal court, and not one man is on that. That's suspicious. In the words of Cardi B, that's suspicious. And I wouldn't be surprised. Gina already testified. No, guys. No, Gina hasn't testified. I wouldn't be surprised if there were men who were considering, work and they were like, hey, do you want to join the team? And they looked over the facts. They were like, no, thank you. I don't want to touch it. I've heard multiple guys who were like, I don't want to touch it. It says she was getting the bag from Old Boy and was traveling around the world making content. That's my boo. Hello, hello. Look who we got. Looking like $1,000,000 as always. You do. You always look like a drug dealer. You do. He looks like a drug dealer going to court today. Did you hear this morning? Yeah. What do you think so far? I feel like okay, come over here. Uh-huh. Not yet. I'll pay you in liquor. This is Make It Make Sense, y'all. This is Mims. Here, let me see if I can undo it. Oh no. You can't hear him. Okay. It's okay, but overall. Thank you. Do it. Do it.
Can you hear now?
Hold on. This is good.
Okay, they can hear.
Okay, good.
They
Thank
hear you.
All right. Well, no, it's both of us. I took the earbuds off.
So
you're
what you
saying-
didn't hear was Simone said she was gonna pay me for this interview and she was gonna buy me some liquor tonight.
I will get you some liquor. I will get you some liquor.
No, I felt like she was a really sympathetic witness today. I felt like as soon as she told the story and conveyed it in a way that was truly emotional, the jury kind of perked up.
Okay. Do you feel like you're starting to see coercion?
I felt like I saw coercion day one.
Oh, okay. What was the coercion for you?
It was having to get her high in order to even broach the topic of having a hotel room.
Okay.
Did you see that in there?
I see that. I think the problem is she was saying she was doing this because she felt obligated to keep a roof over her head. Mm-hmm. That's the argument that I think these jurors are going to have struggle with. because she's getting around $7,000 a month in child support, even without anything from you. That hasn't come out in court yet, but will.
We'll see.
Yeah,
Gotta run.
we'll see. All right. Bye, guys. All right. Yeah, somebody said, yeah, it's both. Yeah. I think it could be coercion or the other. Oh, just like 2 minutes. Yeah. All right. It says, these people wanted it to be low-key. Question on Mims. Yeah, he's very handsome. Yeah, so she's getting around $17,000 a month and is concerned. So the Fed's actually looking for Gina. I don't know. Hey, how you doing? I think at this point, though, you don't want to call a witness who doesn't want to be up there because they could do so much damage to your case. So I think the prosecution is going easy on him. Oh, wow. Said that's less than what some people receive in Social Security a year. What, the 17? Yeah, even the 7,000. It looks like a podcast. Da, 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 da. Yeah. So she's getting around 7K for child support. And then separately from Diddy, she was getting an allowance of 10,000. She was getting that all the way down. So, okay, so some people are saying that they feel like him giving her drugs to make her then agree and consent to the FOs, you feel like is going down that route of coercion. It says, I don't think she will do emotionally well on cross. Cross is gonna be hard. I think cross is gonna be difficult for her because it's gonna be very emotional. They're gonna pull out, difficult facts in her life. And let's just be honest, I feel terrible for the girl in that her life is forever changed. She's more than likely gonna lose custody because her, baby dad is probably gonna go to the courts and say she can't pick a good man, she can't raise a good man. And then on cross, listen, I think on cross, I wouldn't be surprised if one of the first things they do on cross is, so periodically she's been crying. I don't think they're fake tears, they are real tears. Because this is the most traumatic thing she's probably ever going to experience. But on cross, I could definitely see that. So, wait, on direct, the prosecution has told her like various times, like, hey, do you need a moment or can you keep going? And she's like, it's fine, I can keep going, Gotcha. Shoot, if I was the defense on cross, I'd start off by saying, all right, now are you okay with continuing to go? Are you okay with that? And if she's gonna say yeah, they're like, well, I want to just check because previously you said that, with Diddy, you tell him you were okay with things, and then later you say that you regret it and you weren't okay. And I just want to make sure that here, with this testimony you're about to give, that if I start asking you questions and then you say you're okay to move forward, I don't want you later to be like, well, they pressured me into giving these answers. You see what I'm saying? Because throughout it, she's never, I won't say never, she communicates regret after the fact. And he's had her do some low, down, dirty things. And he is using substances to have her engage in these. In fact, she told an example of how they tried to have a sobriety night. Twice she tried to do it sober. And it was just such a disgusting experience. The first time she actually puked because she said she needed the substances to get her mind in a place where she felt like she could do it. So, yeah, I also think the defense is going to probably delve into whether or not she's here to create a narrative for her child custody case, given that she's articulated child support is her sole source of income. Because you have to remember, with the jury, you start with leaning towards reasonable doubt. And the more relatable a witness is, the more credible the witness feels. So if the jurors have difficulty relating to someone who says, in effect, these are threesomes, right? In effect, I had drug-fueled threesomes with my boyfriend because he was willing to pay my bills. They may not see that in the same way they would see what happened with Cassie, that he was holding a record deal over her head, and etc. However, what I am anticipating and what I'm looking for is that perhaps we're going to hear some testimony of blackmail, of him using the tapes from these freak-offs and threatening to release them to her baby daddy or anyone else that could potentially impact her custody. The only thing about that is she continued to be his girlfriend. She continued to be his girlfriend all the way to the end. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. So I'm going to head on back up to the courtroom. Drop your questions below. I'm going to do another recap after court today. Bye, guys. Hit that subscribe, hit that like.